Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and we have made it to week number 6 of the NFL season. San Francisco coming off a short week Thursday night football overtime thrilling win against the Los Angeles Rams. Now travel to Tampa Bay with 10 days of rest and take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's right. Today we're previewing Niners and Buccaneers week 6 on the road out there in Florida, and seeing if San Francisco can find a way to win and climb their record to 5-1 in 2025. Already mentioned how San Francisco won in week number 5. Now let's talk about how the Buccaneers won, because it was equally as thrilling as San Francisco's Thursday night overtime win against the Rams, because the Buccaneers traveled to Seattle, a place San Francisco has already won this season, and had a fair share of late game heroics themselves. A late fourth quarter interception of Sam Darnold leads to a game-winning field goal to walk off Seattle in Seattle, beating the Seahawks at home at Lumen Field. Both teams are 4-1 this year. Both teams sit atop their respective divisions, that being the NFC West and the NFC South, but both teams are also banged up and have injuries, especially on the offense. You might not see Mike Evans. You're not going to see Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers. For San Francisco, no Brock Purdy and probably no Ricky Pearsall once again, and also no George Kittle in week number 6 yet. Despite those injuries, both these teams continue to find new ways to win, and what I could say is some of the most improbable ways and outcomes thus far in 2025, whether it be a forced fumble and a huge fourth down stop against the Rams on a short week in prime time, or flashback 2 weeks ago against the Cardinals, a walk-off game-winning field goal at the home opener for San Francisco. On the other side of things, the Buccaneers, you can never count out Baker Mayfield and this Buccaneers offense. Where their defense may falter, Baker Mayfield is somehow finding a way to help the Buccaneers claw back into every game thus far this season. The Niners, the Buccaneers, very similar teams, cut from the exact same cloth. They're gritty. Their jerseys are always dirty. They fight tooth and nail to the finish, and they are always going to have themselves in a position to win a game late any given Sunday. This is going to be another slobber knocker, if you will, out there in Tampa Bay this Sunday when the Niners take on the Buccaneers in week number 6. But before we get into how San Francisco can win and how they may lose, I want to kindly ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the show, whether it's on the audio podcasting platforms where you can leave us a 5-star review, or the YouTube channel, because we have just surpassed 2,000 subscribers. If you're new here, welcome. If you're old here, welcome back to the show. Happy you're along for the ride, and let's dive into week number 6, Niners and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if we're starting with the Buccaneers offense and how the San Francisco 49ers defense can hopefully limit the firepower of the Buccaneers and the explosiveness of the Buccaneers offense, you had to start out discussing who the Buccaneers really are offensively. What is their offensive strategy? And it kind of has changed a bit from last season. Although there were inklings of who they are in 2025 last season, this is a high-powered, high-scoring Buccaneers offense, putting up 27 points per game. That ranks 7th in the NFL. That is despite ranking near the bottom in red zone success percentage, which I think does kind of sum up what the Buccaneers offense has been thus far this year and kind of sums up how they operate in 2025, because when discussing Tampa Bay and their offense, you can only start at one place. That is quarterback Baker Mayfield. And in most weeks against the Buccaneers, I'd be sitting here giving you the Baker, but Nick Bosa's out. And now the focus is primarily on how does this Niners defense, without Nick Bosa, it may or may not have Kalia Davis. It might get Kevin Givens back this Sunday, which is pretty big, knowing you're not going to have Yetur Gross-Matos. You are banged up a little bit on the defensive line, and can you get some pressure on the Buccaneers quarterback, who right now this year is playing out of his mind? Maybe equally to that of Matthew Stafford. This is a massive 2-week stretch for San Francisco. You narrowly survived Matthew Stafford's second half push against the Rams. Can you survive against Baker Mayfield's push against the Buccaneers? Baker Mayfield is awesome. I got so much flack in my preseason quarterback tier ranking because I put Mayfield in the top 10. People did not want to buy into what Baker Mayfield is selling. I'd say this, and I'll ask you this. Are you buying in now? Baker looks like an MVP candidate through just over a month of the NFL year. Now, will it continue? I don't know. Time will tell. But right now, when San Francisco faces off against Baker and tries to limit Baker, you're not playing the Browns' Baker Mayfield. You're not playing the Rams or the Panthers or even last year's Baker Mayfield. You are playing what has been, through over 5 weeks, one of the best quarterbacks in football this Sunday, which is always going to be a big test for the defense. He's trash-talking dudes. He's yelling at fans in the stands. He's running through defenders when he scrambles. He's slinging the rock at an MVP level. And I want fans to understand that. You're not playing game manager, smaller quarterback Baker Mayfield. You're playing one of the best current quarterbacks on their current pace in football. He's dropping back 30 times per game, but he's throwing at the 6th highest clip per game. It's going to be the Baker Mayfield show. Money Mayfield, throwing singles, throwing dimes, throwing a couple of bills out there against you. Can San Francisco's defense find a way to stop this? And I think, really, the question isn't how do you stop Baker Mayfield underneath? How do you stop Baker Mayfield over the middle of the football field? Fred and D. Winters can do that for you. It is how do you stop Baker towards the boundaries, towards the sidelines? It is how do you stop a Baker Mayfield that may be throwing with the most confidence of any quarterback in football, probably not named, or maybe equally to that of Matthew Stafford. How do you defend the deep ball? How do you defend a guy that wants to push the football down the field at a not just a high rate, the highest rate in all of football? Mayfield is not going to sit back and be timid and be coy and kind of ease you in, then bang over the top. No. Mayfield wants to get you from the very first snap of the game. He is not going to shy away from testing San Francisco's younger-ish secondary, if you will. I know the defense might get back, and it sounds like Malik Mustafa will make his Niners 2025 debut in this game, which is great. You'll love that. I do have a lot of faith in Mustafa. I think this team desperately needs him on the back end of that defense if they want to make a big playoff run at some point this year and hopefully take them further in the playoffs than I think they can actually go. But you also got to realize that it's your first game back. I would not be shocked to see Baker say, hey, see number 6 out there? Yeah, test him early. See if he's caught flat-footed. See if you can get him on the first play. Maybe playing a little bit more conservative than banging over the top here 60 yards later. you're sitting back like, welcome back, Malik Mustafa. That is a big concern, albeit Mustafa's a great player in his own right, hopefully going to have a great second year with San Francisco. You are playing Baker at a fearless level where Baker will throw it underneath, over the top, the sideline, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards downfield at a continual rate. And it's rare you play fearless quarterbacks. Take other quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Jalen Hurts, at his best, is not as fearless as Baker Mayfield. Even at times, you see Hurts kind of fall into a malaise, if you will, of playing super conservative, holding on to the football too long. And while Baker does do that sometimes, Baker's instincts say, let it rip. Let it rip. Be a gunslinger, go out there, throw a pick, whatever, throw a touchdown the next play, who cares, right? You make up for it. That's Baker Mayfield's mindset. I'm going through his stats this year. Baker has the most big-time throws in the NFL through 5 games. That means passes over 20-plus yards, he has, and he leads the NFL in that category. He also has the highest percent of his passing attempts, being 17% of his total passing attempts being big-time throws. That is the highest clip in football. Again, he wants to continually pound you over the top and beat you deep down the field. And right now, through 5 games, he's completing just under 42% of his big-time throws. That ranks 4th most among quarterbacks with 20 or more big-time throw attempts this year. So he's accurate, he's efficient, and he's willing to take those shots. Kyler Murray wasn't going to do that. Spencer Rattler isn't going to do that. Sam Darnold, albeit did it once, usually isn't going to do that at a continual basis. Even Matthew Stafford, you saw last week against the Rams, that first half was much more, kind of conservative, run the football, we'll see how it goes. And then in the second half, in the overtime, you saw it was just an onslaught of, oh my God, here come the Rams. Expect that the entire game on Sunday against the Buccaneers. From quarter 1 kickoff to whatever the game ends in overtime or in the fourth quarter, whatever, Baker Mayfield wants to threaten you. He wants to show you up. He wants to say, hey, caught you sleeping. Then he'll make you hear about it. He'll run through your defensive end. He'll run through your linebacker. He'll flex on you. And you're sitting back like, oh my God. Is this the swaggiest white boy we've ever seen play quarterback in the NFL? And he might be. He might be. Like, Baker Mayfield is playing like Johnny Manziel in college, but he's quarterbacking and throwing the football like Matthew Stafford is now. Now, he's not going to give you the arm angles, but he'll load up. He'll chuck that puppy as far as he can, and usually he's hitting with it. So it's a big test for San Francisco secondary, and I think it's not just that Mayfield wants to load up and go deep. It's the fact that he's aware of when his team needs those deep shots. And, it's more of like, my team needs a spark. My defense is faltering. They're tired. We're down 2 scores. If we don't score now, we're going to lose. And more often than not, he takes on the responsibility of saying, I got to be the guy here. The weight of, I'm the quarterback, I'm the guy, I'm the top dog, I'm the alpha. If anyone's making that play, it's me. And when you have that kind of mentality on the opposing offense against you, that puts you on your heels. It makes you a little more, I guess you can say, susceptible to double moves underneath and opens things up. Now, thankfully, Fred Warner and D. Winters are over there to help clean things up and definitely makes your life easier having 2 of the best linebackers in football over the middle, mainly Fred, who's just been playing at a defensive player of the year clip this year. But we saw against the Rams, Marquise Siegel getting beat downfield. You saw against the Seahawks and the Saints, there have been times where Green, Renardo Green, gets beat downfield a couple times, and you're like, oh my God. Now, Green played better against the Rams. Really good against Devontae Adams, but you got to stop Baker. You have to limit the over-the-top passes, and hopefully for a young safety room with Mustafa returning and Siegel and Pinnock out there as a veteran guy, you do see them be able to limit Baker or kind of hold Baker in check, because you give him 1 inch, he'll take the entire 100 yards of the football field. You give an inch, take him a mile. Like that's the saying. You give him 1 yard, he'll take 20. And that's what you can't do. That is where you get yourself in trouble. That's where, no matter how big of a lead San Francisco could maybe manage to grow, it's never going to be out of reach of a quarterback like Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm not saying Baker's perfect. He's not perfect. I'm not saying Baker is playing at a God-tier Mahomes, Brady, Manning, Favre, Rodgers level, but he's playing at a very efficient rate, and he's unafraid to beat you over the top, where San Francisco's defense has shown at times, especially late in games, they can get beat over the top. Now, I think Stafford made some great plays against the Rams, and I think Baker is equally able to do so. And Baker also is unafraid to buy time with his legs. Now, Stafford's more of the buy time in the pocket player, whereas Baker, he'll run around. He'll stiff-arm dude. Saw it last year against San Francisco. He stiff-armed Nick Bosa about 5 yards. You're like, oh my God, what's going on? Baker just is playing great football. And when you run into great quarterbacks or quarterbacks playing at a great rate, sometimes those guys are buzzsaws, and you're like, you just kind of got to give it to them and say, yeah, you got us. You got us. And I think, the way they're operating the offense without Bucky Irving, without Mike Evans, they're really thriving deep in the passing game. Obviously, I've said it a billion times now, but also towards the boundaries with guys like Chris Godwin, who's 2 weeks off an injury, Sterling Shepard, who somehow is finding playing time in Tampa Bay, and then you have Emeka Egbuka, who looks like, the best receiver in football, really, through 5 weeks. Now, obviously, he isn't that guy yet. Obviously, you have better receivers, but he's playing and on the track to be the offensive player of the year this season. He looks that good. Emeka Egbuka, deserves all the respect in the world, where on most weeks, if you said, no Mike Evans, a recuperating, kind of being brought back into the fold, Chris Godwin, the Bucs don't have the top running back, man, you're in a good spot. But this year, because Egbuka's there, no. This is a big test for San Francisco's cornerbacks, mainly because the Bucs want to have high tempo and just push and push and push, and they're going to. It's almost like a boxer now. Now, I don't know much about boxing, so forgive me here. I might sound ridiculously dumb and ignorant, but most guys or some boxers are kind of this patient. They're waiting for the big KO. The minute you open up, boom, they're gonna get you and it's over with. Whereas some guys want to wear you down. This jab, 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 and Tampa Bay can almost do both, but what I mean by that is they're going to jab you with deep balls until one finally drops. They're going to jab you over the top until bang, they finally hit one, and it'll hurt you for, a touchdown or, a massive third down conversion or a big, whatever it could be. They're going to jab you, but it'll be continual, we're going to go for I guess maybe I'm talking about they're going to jab you or they're going to continually go for the KO. And it'll leave them open to turnovers and interceptions and fumbles and bad offensive line play and just not having a great defense overall to save them. But they're going to keep going for the KO, just bang, bang, and keep trying and trying and trying. And I just wonder who blinks first. Does San Francisco blink first? Does the Buccaneers hit one? And all of a sudden San Francisco's dazed, whoa, we're down 17 points early. What the heck just happened? Those are real possibilities against Baker Mayfield. And a lot of that is because of Emeka Egbuka, averaging 5 receptions, 89 yards, and 1 touchdown per game through 5 games this season. He has 9 receptions over 20 yards through 5 games again this season. He is right now with the most, or one of the most efficient deep ball quarterbacks in football at Mayfield, the most efficient deep ball receiver in football this year. He has the second most deep ball targets, which is 13. He has the most deep ball touchdowns with 4, and he has the most 20-plus yard first downs in football at 8. The dude is, every drive, it's the threat of, where's Egbuka? Where's Egbuka? where's Egbuka? Because if you lose track, if you give him a lane to find space, I guarantee you Mayfield will find him like a freaking, tracking meter. Just target locked right to Egbuka. I don't want to, use hyperbole and overstate things, but this really is what it has been like. They were down against Philadelphia. They were in a tight race against the Jets. They have not pulled away from teams. They barely beat the Seahawks last week. But they always find a way to score 27 points, 30 points, never be out of games because of the ability to find and hit the home run play. Now, guarding Egbuka this season, he plays nearly 40% of his snaps in the slot and 60% of his snaps lined out wide. Now, that's a pretty almost near even split. It'll be a big test for Upton Stout. It'll be a big test for whatever cornerback San Francisco will guard Egbuka with. Now, my thought is you may want to play a little bit more man coverage. Philadelphia did that against the Buccaneers, and I think they held Egbuka to like one catch for 6 yards with Quinyon Mitchell on him in that game. Meanwhile, San Francisco would probably want to have their bigger cornerback against Egbuka. In a perfect world, you'd say Lenore, but Lenore's a smaller cornerback height-wise. I would rather have Renardo Green, who did a fantastic job locking up Devontae Adams for the most part in that game against the Rams, whenever they were kind of lined up across each other. I may want to have Green go against Egbuka whenever he's lined out wide compared to Lenore. Now, obviously, it isn't that simple. Solid doesn't really shadow corners and receivers. It's more of like lock down your side of the football field. And I trust in San Francisco's cornerbacks. Now, I do think that you are going to run into trouble when it is Stout and Egbuka 1v1. Stout was lost against the Rams. Stout was just kind of, just like he missed assignments. There was miscommunication. It felt like he was getting outmatched. Now, that was Puka Nacua, a bigger-bodied slot receiver that can body anybody up, and Stout's really tiny and really thin, whereas Egbuka is a more feasible physical matchup for Upton Stout, but I don't know if Stout's going to start. We saw Chase Lucas play late in the game, got a big stop on that 4th down against the Rams, so we'll see. Maybe Stout starts, maybe Lucas closes the game. I don't know. Like, there are some question marks there, but if San Francisco wants a chance to win, because the Bucs are going to hit at least one of their 20-plus yard throws in this game. Egbuka will catch one in this game. It's one, how do you react? Do you get flustered? Does Saleh kind of move to a more blitz pattern, try to get Baker out of the pocket? Which Baker's good there, but he can get rattled at times. And San Francisco has done a really good job kind of honing Baker in, if you will. Now, that in previous years came with really good pass rushes, whereas this year it's going to be a bigger test for San Francisco. So a lot of questions there. I do want to see, or I do wonder if Saleh will play some more man coverage against Egbuka and against the Buccaneers receivers, because he's a much worse wide receiver in man coverage, and you have, I think, a cornerback in Green and even Lenore that I think can actually body him up in some way. But again, big test. Baker really isn't one to throw the football over the middle of the field. He's going to hit you towards the sidelines and the boundaries. Now, you'll see plays over the middle, but it's more about, let's get guys deep on go balls and really deep crossers and all that stuff. So this is probably the biggest vertical threat passing game they've faced all year, that being San Francisco. So it's a big test, and I don't know how they respond. Now, it does help you the fact that it's not Egbuka and Evans and Godwin. Evans might play, but the reports were he has to practice, and he hasn't practiced so far. So maybe that changes. My assumption is he's not going to play on Sunday, but maybe I'm wrong. If he does play, well, the test gets a bit harder for San Francisco, but I don't think he'll play. I think they want to save him for next week and hopefully get him back healthier, or 100% whenever he comes back, not 85 or 90%. So I don't think we'll see Mike Evans. He might play, but the odds to me are not in his favor to play which certainly helps San Francisco hone in on stopping Egbuka compared to Shepard and Godwin and other guys like that. So without Mike Evans, San Francisco can kind of narrow their focus, if you will, this Sunday. Bucs are also not going to have Bucky Irving, so a big loss there for the Buccaneers. And although they have found some running success with Rachaad White, most of that is in the red zone and short yardage stuff. It's not really been this powerful running game to a point where in one game without Irving this year against Seattle, 2.1 yards per carry. That to me puts more focus on and really kind of puts more pressure on Mayfield to make the big plays. Now, he's shown he can do that this year, but a lot of pressure on Mayfield to make big throws. And when you're dropping back 35 times a game, or if you're San Francisco, 40 times a game, which is crazy, most in football, you are going to eventually make a mistake. Now, Baker has turned the ball over a couple times this year, 1 pick and 3 fumbles this season, so it'll happen. San Francisco just needs to, one, catch the ball, get their first INT since last season, but also the fumbles may come into their favor knowing you have guys that want to push or punch the football out, which has been San Francisco's kind of main path to a takeaway, the fumbles. So maybe it feeds into San Francisco's strength. That said, Mayfield surprisingly is 8th in quarterback rushing yards this year and has 2 rushes over 20 yards. So Mayfield's no slouch in the running game either. So again, another big test for San Francisco, whereas Stafford was much more in the pocket, going to maneuver in the pocket and deceive you with his eyes. Mayfield can do those things, but it does feel like the Buccaneers feel as if they're like in a gladiator fight where it's a wave of enemies. It's like one after another. Mayfield's taking shot after shot, hit after hit, and he keeps getting up. He's bleeding, he's broken, he's bruised, but he still kind of recuperates just enough to make a big play and kind of bring the Buccaneers offense out of it. So I think playing man coverage against Egbuka, I think you really don't need to sell out to stop the run. You really need to sell out to stop the pass, which obviously you didn't want to take Rachaad White and Sean Tucker lightly, but in reality, you kind of can take those guys lightly. Now, that'll be a bigger test in the red zone for you, but the Buccaneers' offensive line, it's not great to a point where not really too scared if you have to sit back and think, oh, no, God, I have to go face the Bucs offensive line with the game on the line and not get a play done or hold them to, on the ground to milk the clock out. Like, the Bucs really haven't been able to milk the clock. It's been, we have to have an offensive drive to win, and Baker gets it done. Like, you can beat the Bucs defense a ton. You can beat the Buccaneers offensive line on the ground. It's really about this pass rush. And can Mykel and Alfred Collins and West and Bryce Huff and Samuel Kawanu and whoever else is playing edge rusher for San Francisco, can you find a way to get home? Now, I do think the film indicated against the Rams that the pass rush was a little bit better than we thought the box score indicated. It wasn't great by any means, but they were almost there. Can you go from almost to just enough? And I think against Mayfield and the Bucs, you can. He's been sacked 9 times this year. The entire right side of the Bucs offensive line is on injured reserve. They're starting Ben Bredesen and Charlie Heck. I hope that name sounds familiar. He was in San Francisco last year at guard and right tackle. Bredesen's been solid, fine, above average at guard, but Charlie Heck has been downright terrible. I don't mean, he's bad. No. One of the worst rated tackles in football this year. According to PFF, which lately has been getting a lot of hate. I get it, but we're going to use it for this case because it helps my point here. Heck is the 4th lowest rated right tackle in football per PFF in pass protection. He has allowed the 2nd most pressures amongst tackles at 22 22. Averaged over 5 games. That is 4+-ish pressures per game for the right tackle. Bryce Huff, hey, bingo bango, speed rusher. Mykel, get some strength involved. They should be able to find pressure on Mayfield's strong side, his right side. They should be able to bring Mayfield down, I think, at least twice on Sunday, which, you're hoping those are on third downs. You're hoping those are on, second and 8s, make it 3rd and 15, make it 3rd and 20. Now, again, can you survive the big deep shot downfield? I don't know, but I'd rather them have timely sacks than just get sacks, right? Obviously, you love sacks. Who doesn't love sacks? But I'd rather those sacks be timely, so you're hoping on third downs, on second and longs, they can get home and make the drives harder for Tampa Bay. But the right tackle spot should be a very, very big, I guess you can say, focus point for San Francisco's pass rush. Overload it, blitz them on that side, get some pressure, and hopefully force Mayfield out of the pocket, or at least get him rattled somewhat early and often in the game. The next area I think San Francisco's defense can find ways to flourish against the Buccaneers is really just getting a strong push from Alfred Collins. Kalia Davis might play in this game. He was practicing with the club on his hand. West and Kevin Givens may play. So you're going to have a large chunk of your assumed starting defensive tackles alongside Mykel Williams, who can also play the inside this Sunday. So that's a big boost for San Francisco. But I think they can get a really strong push against second-year center Graham Barton, who was awesome last year. I wanted the Niners to pick him 2 years ago. I wish they had Barton over Brendel, but hear me out here. Barton this year, despite being a first-round pick, a year ago, 2 years ago now, he's right now the league's lowest rated center in pass protection and has given up the most pressures and sacks among centers in football through 5 weeks. So you can beat the right tackle and the center. You have a defensive line that is young, albeit unproven still, but each week they're starting to kind of make one splash play every single game, where it's like Alfred Collins this week, Mykel week 3. Maybe it's West's time to make a big play. Maybe it's the returning Kevin Givens makes a play. I do think that there is room where San Francisco's young and somewhat unproven defensive line can actually control the line of scrimmage against the Buccaneers offensive line, which you normally wouldn't say because they have Tristan Wirfs, who's a phenomenal left tackle, but that center to right tackle spot is not great. It's not great, and you know this, I know this. Straight line right to the quarterback, the center. That is the fastest way to bring the quarterback down, to wreak havoc, to get pressure, to stop the run, is right through the center, right where the quarterback's standing behind the center. You want to get right there, straight line, bing, bang, boom, boom, bop, bam, right to the center and right to the quarterback. So I do think there's a pathway, literally to the quarterback through the center, but also to getting sacks, to bringing Mayfield down, to giving him a harder job to complete balls down the field. It's very hard to make 20-plus yard throws running for your life. The hope is that Mayfield is doing that a lot this Sunday, and you hope against Charlie Heck and against a downtrodden Graham Barton, San Francisco's young defensive line can do that. I think their strength certainly helps them. I want to see Mykel and Alfred Collins just mauling dudes up the middle and getting that pocket push, because if you don't, you're in trouble. And this isn't like, oh, it's Kyler, mobile quarterback. If you don't, you're in trouble. It's not like you're playing, Jared Goff. It's like, no. And look, Jared Goff's playing great football, but like Mayfield's playing like A+ tier elite football right now. And if you give him time in the pocket, night. You have to make your secondary's job easier for this Niners defense, knowing that Mayfield wants to test them throughout the entirety of the game. Now, they're not going to have Yetur Gross-Matos. They may or may not have Kalia Davis, but Givens is back. You got Mykel Williams in the fray. He's been awesome so far this year for San Francisco. You have CJ West, you have Alfred Collins, and again, you're hoping that week by week, the growth continues to show. Can that youth movement, where in some cases it's not a good thing, right? But when people see, a young defense, they think, we can feast on those guys. That's not really been the case this year for San Francisco. You had like one spot, Marquis Siegel in certain games, Upton Stout last Thursday against the Rams, but there really hasn't been a spot you can beat San Francisco a ton. The Jaguars game was a bigger indication of this on the ground, but that ball was out fast. There was a lot of screen stuff, and this was a bad pass rush. Nick Bosa. Now you're 2 weeks removed from that. I do think you will see a lot more pressure on Baker. Now, what does a lot mean? Maybe it goes from 1 pressure to 5 pressures, 5 to 10. I don't know. But you're going to have to get pressure on Baker because all 4 of his turnovers this year, the 1 pick and the 3 fumbles, have all come under pressure. So you get Baker out of the pocket, albeit he's good there, it does increase the level of turnover-worthy plays he'll make. And again, 3 fumbles, peanut punches for days with Baker. Good quarterback. He will give you the ball up, and the more you throw deep, the more picks you might get. So it's going to be a big test for San Francisco, big test for them. I do think while I am mortified at what Baker can do against their secondary and their defense, I do have maybe a higher percentage of confidence against Baker than I had against Matthew Stafford. Maybe it's because it's Matthew Stafford. And we saw late in that game, it was Matthew Stafford. Oh my God, here we go. Back against the wall. We're going to lose. And they held off. I do wonder if because San Francisco's defense played so good in that game until that kind of third quarter push, fourth quarter push against the Rams, like, is this where the kind of the big bow breaks and they get gassed for 35 points? And we all go, oh my God, crap. There is that fear. But also there is the hope and the optimism of like, we need to get some pressure. You're going to have Baker running around, and he's a gritty dude, but you can't take a punch every single play. And if you can get a hand on Baker every single play, he's probably going to give you the football back via fumbles. So my bold prediction is Baker fumbles again this Sunday and San Francisco recovers it. And fingers crossed that's the case. But the defense for San Francisco, you're not going to have to worry about the running game for the Buccaneers. It is all basically just, hey, drop back and play coverage. Make Baker beat you. Make the Bucs prove or have to run the football against you, which they have not done since Bucky Irving has been out. Meanwhile, the Niners offense, how can they beat the Buccaneers defense this Sunday? Before we dive into that, though, I want to remind you, if you'd like to go see your San Francisco 49ers this season, go to SeatGeek.com and you can save yourself $20 off your first purchase by using our promo code 49ersaccess. That's right. Free money. Discounted tickets on baseball playoff games if you're into that kind of thing. The NBA preseason is here. You want tickets to that. The NFL is in full swing, and we got more on the way in the weeks to come, even concert tickets. Go on SeatGeek.com, put in the promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and you can save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Okay, time to move on to the Niners offense. How can they gash, beat, slash this Buccaneers defense who, quite frankly, not the best this season? I am fully expecting, without Brock Purdy once again, probably not going to have Ricky Pearsall. According to Kyle Shanahan, it is he's not expected him to practice, and it's a long shot for him to play against the Buccaneers. So it is another Mac Jones, can you drop back 40-plus times and lead us to victory against Tampa Bay this Sunday? And I'm expecting that. Mac Jones, 35 throws. Mac Jones, 45 throws. That is how San Francisco is going to have to win games until they can run the football. And against the Buccaneers, the odds would indicate that they're probably not going to be able to run the football. Tampa Bay this year ranks 9th in run defense according to Pro Football Focus. They are the number 1 run defense according to EPA, so 2 big indicators. They're at least top 10. One, a fringe top 10 run defense. The other one, the number 1 run defense in football. So not the best for San Francisco to finally find their groove on the ground. The Buccaneers are also holding opponents to 24 attempts per game. That is the 10th lowest in football, and they're holding teams to 92 yards on the ground per game. That is 8th in the league, while holding other teams to 4.6 rushing first downs. That is 4th. If San Francisco wants to move the rock, you're going to have to pass the football, like you did against the Cardinals, against the Saints, against the Rams, against the Jaguars. Essentially, what you've done all year. A pass-happy, drop-back, no rushing attack system, if you will. That is the name of the game to beat Tampa Bay. Now, the Bucs have some dogs up front, mainly Vita Vea. That dude is a Hulk of a human being. When you say Hulk smash in the dictionary, Vita Vea's name is right there saying, "Hello, it's me." He is that kind of presence. He is a massive human. He is a strong SOB. And if you give him a chance, he will make your life hell if you are a center or a guard. He is a one-stop shop of slowing the running game down and leading that Buccaneers defense to controlling the line of scrimmage. He is an awesome player. I wish he was in San Francisco. My God, he is a dude on the interior of the Buccaneers defensive line. However, while I do think Vita Vea will give Brendel and, for the love of God, Connor Colby and Dominic Pooney some problems, that ain't just the only guy. You got Hassan Reddick out there, who's out there being an edge rusher, being an outside linebacker. You have Yaya Diaby, who's having a great year for Tampa Bay. So you have 2 guys with, I think, a 13+% of pass rush win rate. And you have the big, rock, the big freaking boulder in the middle of Vita Vea, eating up space, taking up double teams, and once again, stuffing the run. So it's a big test for San Francisco's offensive line. Again, you're probably not going to be able to run the football with Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. Now, maybe like last year, Vita Vea got hurt against San Francisco and opened things up on the ground. Maybe it happens. Obviously, you're not rooting for anyone to get hurt, but maybe it happens. Who knows? And it certainly helps you out in that case. But it feels like a more Mac Jones lead us to victory type of outing. And hopefully San Francisco's offensive line, which has just been terrible, terrible this year. Connor Colby, after one kind of reserve outing against, what was it, the Seahawks and the Saints, and we all said, "Oh, wow, this looks better." You're kind of praying Ben Barch comes back because Colby's been so bad. Now, 7th round pick. Like, there's reasons for this, but also there's reasons why maybe you draft an offensive lineman, you sign a guy in free agency to insulate your room. But here we are. And we talked about, for San Francisco, the line to the quarterback being easier to get through because Graham Barton's not having a great year. Vita Vea against San Francisco's interior offensive line mortifies me. So, watch out, Mac Jones. Don't forget, Mac Jones also hurt. PCL problem. Don't forget that. He's not fully healthy. The report is that it's probably going to linger all year. So, not where you want to be if you are San Francisco. And hopefully San Francisco can maybe alleviate some pressure and the dudes can play a little higher than they have, or maybe up to par, or higher than par than they have in recent weeks if you are the 49ers, but a big fear there if you are Kyle Shanahan and the rest of San Francisco's passing attack. That said, I do think if the Niners' offensive line can give Mac Jones some time, they should be able to have a ton of success against the Buccaneers. I don't care if it's Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, Brock Turdy, McCorkle Jones, it doesn't matter. If you have a competent enough quarterback, which Mac Jones has shown to be one, actually really good and efficient throughout his couple starts this year, he should really be able to kind of eat up. Like, if you have a fantasy team and you don't have a quarterback yet, pick up Mac Jones. Because one, you're getting the attempts, which will probably be above 40, or at least close to it again in this game. But also, despite not having Ricky Pearsall, you'll have Kendrick Bourne, who had a great game against the Rams, albeit that could be a one-game wonder. You had DeMarcus Robinson in week number 2 back off the injury or off the suspension. So, there is hope there. I guess it's his 3rd game back. I digress. And you might get Juwan Jennings back, who didn't practice today, but there seemed to be more optimism in the locker room for him to return. He was practicing a little bit Wednesday, or on Tuesday. So maybe there's hope JJ comes back, but that really shouldn't slow down San Francisco's passing attack now. That once again means you have to have bench dudes, practice squad guys, and lower level depth chart veterans continue to make plays for you. You have Jake Tunges, no George Kittle, you have Luke Farrell, you have Christian, you have other guys that have played good for you in previous weeks, and you hope can step up once again. But the Bucs are decimated in their secondary. They might get their number 1 cornerback back, Jamel Dean, but that is also uncertain. Todd Bowles, their head coach, was like, we might not. So that's up in the air. If Jamel Dean comes back, if he does come back, it's a big plus for the Buccaneers and certainly changes some of the stuff. But I'm going to operate in him not playing this Sunday because it once again helps my point, which is more important here. Me being right is more important than the actual facts. No, I'm kidding. But Jamel Dean may not play this Sunday. Probably not going to play. Their number 2 cornerback, Benjamin Morrison, is also not going to play this Sunday. And Zion McCollum, their 3rd string outside cornerback, was seen in a sling on Wednesday's practice. So 3 of their top cornerbacks, all outside guys, are not likely to play this Sunday. It really helps San Francisco's passing offense in a big way because that means the Niners are going to face rookie Jacob Parrish, who I love, Kansas State guy. Like, him and Marquis Siegel were undersized nickelbacks out there making plays on that defense at Kansas State. Why wanted Parrish on this Niners team so bad? That said, he's a rookie. He's 5'10", under 200 pounds. And so far this year has a 58.1 coverage grade and a 116.7 passer rating allowed and a 114 passer rating allowed in the slot. Do you want him playing outside? Probably not. If he's in the slot, are we saying another big Kendrick Bourne game? Are we pointing to Juwan Jennings? Hey, bigger slot receivers. Don't forget, Bourne is 6'1", Jennings is 6'3". I will take the near 4 to 5 inch advantage over Jacob Parrish with Juwan Jennings any day of the week. Heck, I'll take the 3-inch advantage of Kendrick Bourne over Jacob Parrish this Sunday. So big advantage there, potentially for San Francisco. On the other side, the last active rostered cornerback for the Buccaneers is Kindle Vildor. Does that name sound familiar to you? I hope it does. Because he was the cornerback who the ball bounced off his face mask on Brandon Ayuk's ladybug catch in the 2023 NFC Championship game. He is playing cornerback for the Buccaneers, and right now he is a 54.4 coverage grade and a 144.7 passer rating allowed. San Francisco's passing offense should be able to target these cornerbacks over and over and over again. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens with Dean and if they elevate somebody, but at least from a cornerback perspective, San Francisco's passing offense should really have some fun and some success. So again, whatever Mac Jones' overs are, hammer them over and over and over again. The only way Mac Jones has not hit 250 passing yards and at least 2 passing touchdowns is if, one, San Francisco somehow finally gets their first rushing touchdown of the season, and or 2, he gets hurt. And I hope the last one doesn't happen at all, because it would end San Francisco's season to a certain degree. But there should be a ton of success through the air for Mac Jones on Sunday against these cornerbacks. And even if you wanted to mention Tyke Smith, one of their safeties, and Antoine Winfield Jr., the other safety, like, the odds Mac Jones throws a pick are pretty high in this one. He threw one against the Cardinals. He almost threw one against the Rams. I was right to a guy. He dropped it. My assumption is one of those guys will make an INT. They're good players. They'll make a play. But that doesn't necessarily have to happen, because there is a reality where the Buccaneers are so hindered, so kind of handcuffed by their secondary injuries, that Mac Jones has all day to throw. And if he doesn't force things and takes his checkdowns like he did against the Rams, again, it should be a fun day for McCorkle. With the cornerback injuries the Buccaneers have, that means they really cannot blitz the quarterback. Todd Bowles is not going to leave his 3rd, 4th, 5th string cornerbacks out to dry against a Kyle Shanahan passing attack that is throwing the football 40 times per game. That's how you lose games. Without Pearsall, without George Kittle, those guys will still find some success on the outside. And if you look at the blitzing pattern of the Buccaneers against quarterbacks this year, against Sam Darnold last Sunday, a narrow victory, a field goal victory over the Sam Darnold-led Seahawks, who threw for 341 yards and 4 touchdowns against this Bucs defense. They blitzed him 29, nearly 30% of the time. Still a fairly high number. Right now, San Francisco's blitzing quarterbacks around 10, 12%. So, again, it's a higher number. However, that is nearly 20% less than the Bucs were blitzing quarterbacks the previous 3 weeks, weeks 2 through 4. They cannot blitz the quarterback. They don't have the cornerbacks to trust to be able to blitz the quarterback, thus giving Mac Jones hopefully more time to throw, thus not overwhelming this San Francisco's offensive line, and hopefully giving them a better day, a cleaner pocket, and more a higher chance to succeed against the Buccaneers. There's a clear indication that the Bucs are kind of reeling. Both teams have been kind of skating by, playing good football, just kind of skating by. Game-winning field goal here, blocked field goal here. 1 point win, 1 score, 3 point. It's just every single week there's this grinded out halt that you're like, oh my God, how did we escape that game? It goes for both sides. Who blinks first? And it's funny, sometimes I start these shows and the Rams are going to win. The Buccaneers are going to win. And as I talk about this, I go, the Niners may have an actual serious chance to win, or maybe a higher chance than I initially thought. Because as I was doing some digging into the Buccaneers defense, they have problems on, secondary's banged up. Their offensive line's not great. Can't run the football. It's Baker and Egbuka and nothing else really offensively. I got to the Buccaneers linebackers, and it's always nice to compare how the Niners defense and how opposing defenses they're playing that week guard the middle of the football field. And San Francisco, I will always say, has the great eraser of the middle of the field, and Fred Warner and D. Winters are playing great football on the flat, had a big PBU against Matthew Stafford on Thursday's game. Last week, they're playing lights out. Meanwhile, in Tampa Bay, Lavonte David, a legend in the organization, is having a terrible season for the Bucs. Lavonte David this year has a 39.7 coverage grade. That is the 7th worst among linebackers. He's allowing a 118.9, nearly 119 passer rating this season, 18 receptions, 164 yards, 82 yards of yak, and 3 touchdowns. Not good. Bottom 7th among linebackers this year. But wait, there's more. Because Service Dennis, who I like a lot, good run defender, he is literally the worst coverage linebacker in football. A 28.2 coverage grade. That is the worst among linebackers thus far this year. His 133.2 passer rating allowed, 21 receptions, 331 yards on 251 yards of yak, and 1 touchdown. If you combine those numbers, you have at least 122 passer rating allowed this year. You have 39 receptions, right? 39 receptions allowed for the linebackers. You have 495 yards allowed between David and Dennis, and I don't know what that is. You're looking at like 300 and something yak yards allowed, and 4 touchdowns. Jake Tunges. Like, it's such a big deal to have a presence in this slot against these linebackers. Now, you love to have a guy like Brock Purdy out there who can make those layered throws continually, but Mac Jones has looked fine doing so. Like, Brock's been a little more, what's the word I'm thinking? Reckless, if you will, with his throws. Meanwhile, Mac's been more precise and kind of takes his shots, when they're there, doesn't force things. But, like, this is a game where I really wish Brock Purdy was fully healthy because he would eat these dudes alive. Eat them alive. Because those linebackers are terrible. And look, and I love Lavonte David. I really wanted San Francisco to draft Dennis out of college 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3 years ago. Loved the tape. David's a legend in Tampa Bay. They're just not having great years. He's slowing down now, and Dennis is having a really rough second year as a starter. So, the Buccaneers defense sells out to stop the run. But they cannot cover over the middle, and they're so banged up on the outside, they can't cover on the outside either. Mac Jones should be able to find CMC and Demarcus Robinson and Jay Tunges and Kendrick Bourne and hopefully also Juwan Jennings with relative ease. And I did some digging. Went back to the Sam Darnold-led Seattle Seahawks, which is going to be a very similar defense San Francisco faces, in which what Sam Darnold played last Sunday. Against the Buccaneers' banged-up defense, with their crappy coverage linebackers, their bad cornerbacks, Sam Darnold threw for 2 touchdowns, 119 yards, and completed 13 of 15 passes over the middle against the Buccaneers. I'm expecting something very, very similar from Mac Jones this Sunday. That said, who do I think wins this game? Who do I think comes out on top in this game? Because my heart really does say the Buccaneers should beat San Francisco. That a young secondary in San Francisco, Marquise Siegel, Renardo Green, Upton Stout, Mustafa's back, had a really tough emotional win against the Rams. Are you feeling yourself too much? Do you come out, play flat, you're tired, East Coast road trip, but also you had 10 days off? Where do I lean? I really want to say the Buccaneers win 26-24, hit a game-winning field goal, and the luck runs out for San Francisco. That is what my brain is telling me. But deep down, in my heart, my faithful, gold-blooded heart that was built brick by brick, I really want to pick the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. Because I just told you why. I laid it all out there. It is going to take the Niners playing down, coming out, going from the West Coast to the East Coast. They're banged up, but they're healthy enough to win. They're emotional. It's a young team. Big win against the Rams. Play Tampa Bay. Are you going to have the exact same luck? Are you going to have the exact same breaks go your way? San Francisco should have lost against the Rams. I don't think it's wrong to say it. Now, they made some plays to help them win the game. Are you going to have the exact same luck? You're going to force, two fumbles against the Rams running backs? You're going to stop Baker for the entire 4 quarters? I don't know. So I'm going to make this two separate predictions. My head says Buccaneers win 26-24 over San Francisco via Chase McLaughlin, ex-49er kicker, game-winning field goal. My heart says Niners win, let's say 27-26. It's going to be close. Because Eddie Pinheiro makes the game-winning field goal out there at Raymond James Stadium. So those are my predictions. It can go either way. It's a big toss-up. If San Francisco can find a way to somehow rein in Baker Mayfield's deep ball, they have a very good chance to win. I think they can do that. But for the sake of not being a homer, you have to realize there was some circumstances benefiting San Francisco a lot on Thursday Night Football. They made some plays. They're a young team, though. Can they do it again? I hope they can. I believe they can. I think they can. This is the engine that could. Major Payne. I think I can. Well, you can think all day long. Can you actually do it? So, my head says Bucs. My heart says San Francisco. Hopefully my heart prevails once again. But those are my predictions. What do you think? Do you believe in Mac Jones once again against this banged-up Bucs defense? Or are you mortified that Baker Mayfield may torch this young-ish Niners defense, beat up on the defensive line, and torch that secondary? Tell me down below in the comments, are you buying into Baker? Or are you selling hard on his success this season? Are you buying into San Francisco's passing success so far this year? Can Mac Jones do it again? I certainly think he can. We are in for another nail-biting finish. Going to be close. One score again. Again, you can win. This is 2 teams that have won ugly a lot. Almost every game this year. Who continues that trend this Sunday? Or who falters in a big way? Going to be a big game. Going to be an important game. San Francisco holds a 1.5 game lead over the rest of the NFC West. You win this game, you either grow that lead or at least maintain that lead, and hopefully you can get back George Kittle on Sunday Night Football in week number 7. Maybe you get Ricky Pearsall back, and maybe you get Brock Purdy back too. So fingers crossed San Francisco gets the win. Drop your score predictions down below, and why don't you go and tell me how many passing yards will Mac Jones have? I'll say 285 with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick this Sunday. San Francisco gets 1 fumble recovered, punch out on Baker, get it back, hopefully score a touchdown, and it should be a fun game. Edge of your seat, roller coaster ride. Wouldn't want it any other way. Tell me down below your thoughts on Niners versus Buccaneers. Drop your predictions down below as well. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, asking you to once again like, share, and subscribe to the show. Follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. We reached over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much. It was a privilege. It was awesome to watch the number surpass that total. Didn't think we'd get there until the middle point of the year, and we got there around 3 weeks early. Thank you all so much. Hopefully you guys can like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about the show. Leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, stay faithful.